still working on that. It's going to take months, right?
Yeah.
So what's the middle ground, right? So
I think trying to figure out exactly what that narrative is, and I've been trying to craft this for a minute in terms of just the ways to think about it. The TEC right now, we need to find one, to execute on our vision for the TEC. There's one narrative that needs to be kind of really hammered home, and we need people to really believe and buy into if this is all going to work. And that is we need to stop thinking like an organization and start thinking like a commons. And if you have multiple token engineering projects, and here's the narrative underlying that is, if you have multiple token engineering projects and they're all trying to tokenize, we have projects all the time trying to tokenize. And that could be like long tail financial, for example. If they want to tokenize, what does that really mean? It means they're competing with others, and that is not the point of what we're trying to accomplish here at the Commons. So the Commons is saying that instead of tokenizing and having your own token and competing with other token engineering projects, use our token and use it as a method of collaboration rather than competition. And I think that at the heart of it is the narrative that I've been trying to put out there into the world, and I can't figure out how to do it. And so I think that once you have some token engineering projects who actually are aligned with that narrative, who can understand that narrative and digest it and back it, and they start to participate in the TEC as an economy rather than a collaboration amongst an organization, we will see the fruits of that, and seeing more TE projects being funded. And so like that's the kind of narrative that I want to see being pushed out there. And it's really hard to do. And so I'm not great at the comms area, and so I was hoping like maybe we could figure out a way to get that messaging out there in several different ways. But I'm not sure exactly where to start, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'll be sure to, because I do think that the medium I'm working on right now, I think that could be a great way, because it allows, I think it would serve to communicate that nuance without a specific roadmap, which we don't have yet because we're barely, on the idea phase, trying to get people inspired by something that we're still working towards. So
and I had I'm gonna be trying to write a Medium article in the next week or so on this topic, and maybe, I don't know, as many different vehicles of communication that you can package that into, I think would be really helpful. Even if people in the comms group want to do a video or do spoken word or do Twitter storm, Twitter campaign, marketing campaign, whatever we can do to get that messaging out there, I think it'll be really, really important in terms of bringing up partnerships. And so that was another one another aspect that I think comms should be really focusing on too, is the partnerships aspect, getting in with other organizations. I was going to ask you, do you know anybody at Gnosis?
Chuy is a Gnosis overlord. I do not, but
really? Okay.
Yeah, he's in the multi-sig.
Okay. Yeah.
So he of course, like that it's implied he knows the community, etc. Actually, the crypto tour for the band that he's managing, he doesn't like that word because we're trying to do without managers. But let's say the Mexican rock band that he took under his wing and took funding from, or requested funding from Gnosis, received funding, went on a tour over 20 something cities in Mexico. The first one with Web3 onboarding. So yeah, choose your guy for Gnosis. I'm actually gonna be meeting him this weekend because it's ETH Mexico, and actually tentatively, I'm gonna try my best to finish the poem by this weekend so that we can record. Uh, so that we can record it, film it
Yeah.
in Mexico. And by the way, I know this idea has like we've been talking about this since last year. I did
Yeah.
finish the previous one for. It's just that they liked it more for Common Stack, and I've been going over it. Like I've been trying to find voiceover artists, even record myself, and I just haven't really liked the quality of it.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think I ever showed it to you. At this point, I'd rather you just wait for the weekend and get
That's
your
fine.
take on
Yeah.
the one for Commons, because I really I do think I can communicate that emotionally, like
Yeah.
that sense of we're in this together.
Yeah.
That's just it's just, I mean, for some reason it sells. Like I don't, it sounds crude sell that way, but people just like to gather around a purpose,
Yep.
and that's just that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to do with this story that we're telling, that we're pioneers, but don't get lost on the
Technical
on the
aspects.
funding curve
Yeah.
and the conviction voting and all these protocols and automated governance mechanisms. It's
Yep.
really easy. We're just coming together. We're using tools. We're finding new ways to coordinate. So that's what I like, because I think we can build from there, right?
Yep.
We can um, that can get people, hopefully joining our DAO, asking on Twitter, Telegram group, whatever, and then hopefully using that inertia and creating some sort of system for people to coalesce around and
Yep.
uh, come up with ways to adopt our token and at the same time add value to theirs. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I think that's like the main thing right now is the how do we get people to adopt the token, and then also how do we, and from a comms perspective, like how do we get the messaging out that we want to have out? Because I think the messaging that we've had has been good. It's just been, it's too many things that have been going on that we've been trying to convey, and I would rather have like really focused narratives that say, hey, this is our large roadmap, our big goals that we have within the TEC, and this is what we've done to get there, and where we're heading, and kind of like, speak to others saying, hey, here's a call to action, come help us out, come do this, come participate in this experiment. And so those are the big things that I think are really, really important. But you and Acid Laser are, well, you guys are going to be carrying the comms for a minute, and so I think that you having experiments and ideas that you want to execute on are really important as well. And I want to be able to support those too. And so there's there's two things that I think that are really important: the external communications and then also the internal communications. And for the most part, you have done an amazing job of the internal comm stuff. And I want to keep that up, and I want to hear some ideas, like, what you think we should be doing in terms of the TEC for like internal comms. How do we coordinate the working groups and making sure that we're not overlapping in initiatives and stuff like that. So yeah, so that was just my thoughts on it. But
yeah, well, we can talk about that. We can use this call to talk about that.
okay.
As a laser, usually for the past 2 weeks that this has been happening, Chuy is off the grid a little bit, temporarily offboarded, official term.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna come, so we can just take the time and talk about whatever we want to talk about. I can I can share my screen right now for the agenda.
Yeah,
Uh,
and let's do that. And yeah, I guess the one thing that I want to add to the agenda is kind of defining a vision. Like even if it's just your vision, like how do you see TEC comms working? If you were to direct everything right now, like what would you be doing? What would your priorities be? And actually, do you have a link to the agenda? Is it pinned?
do I have a what?
A link to the agenda document.
Yes. Let me shoot that to you.
And I know that Acid Laser came out with that document of kind of consolidating the teams a little bit in Team DAO. Have you read the document?
I have not. Did he post it on the forum?
I think he did. Let me see.
Okay, cool. I'll read it.
Okay. Yeah. But I think the idea was just kind of bring everybody closer and together instead of having multiple teams.
Yeah. What I can say about look, the nice, the working group weekly update. Oh, it's a bi-weekly update now. I might go
Yeah.
back to doing them because I just don't feel it doesn't sit well with me that it's sort of like a function that I had and then I stopped doing it, and now it's sort of like on and off, right? I kind
Yeah.
of feel some sense of pride in taking that back again and having it run smoothly as it once was.
I mean, it's hard because like
It,
we
it
need to
takes
have
a
better
long
feedback.
time.
It does. Yeah.
Like
We
my
need to
whole
have better
project.
feedback because it's like it's valuable, but we don't ever say it's that valuable. Like it's one of those things. Like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Because I do read them and I'm like, it's the way I keep up with things.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good that Acosta. Let me just message him and say, um, yeah. Okay, there. Yeah, okay. So acid laser post. Is it this one?
Um,
No.
Let me see here. Maybe let's see. I think he sent it. Let me send you a link directly.
Okay.
And so that's it. Yeah. And I'm sending it to you. So he hasn't posted it yet. So I think he's going to post it. He's still going through the advice process.
Okay.
But the idea behind it is that we're gonna start bringing in closer all these different teams and kind of go back to basics with the comms group and say, hey, let's all let's all get on the same page and kind of swarm because we're gonna have a capital crunch. I mean, a human capital crunch right now, like in terms of people who are contributing, just because of the state of the market and all that good stuff. And so really focusing on swarming towards objectives. So I think one of the big things is the sprint that's coming, like the sprint planning that we're doing. Well, instead of individual contributions that we're spreading out, we'll just have a couple objectives each sprint, and those will be the priority. And so as comms group, it'd be like, if you're looking at that objective for this upcoming sprint, you say, how can comms help with that? And then you guys can have your own internal planning for whatever you guys are doing in comms to keep working towards your goals. But we're kind of chipping away at the big objectives at the same time. And so I think that'll be much easier than expecting everybody to create their own issues on ZenHub and like go in there and update issues all the time. And half the time, we either stall out or people forget or, so I think that's a big thing. But yeah, so that comms document is kind of the idea Acid Laser had of just kind of making it a little bit more cohesive in the comms group. Because we we went, like the translations. I think is a really good idea, but it's a kind of it's one of those things where it's like a privilege to have, right? Like it's important, but it's not something that should be prioritized at the moment as much as we like it to be, because we still have to get these kind of basic narratives out there that we need to really focus on if this is going to work.
Yeah, so marketing, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
No pressure.
no pressure. No pressure.
Well, I mean, good thing is we have like most of the budget. We're being very conservative with the things we've been spending on. Regarding like merging out, I did some. It was really very little work, but I guess I helped a little bit with coordination lead between the different teams.
Yep.
But I talked to Chuy and I decided not to request payment for, just because I didn't feel, I think it was 500 context type, and I didn't feel it. First, the hours were not, it wasn't needed, and so.
Yeah, and those are some of the topics that we're gonna have to like have honest conversations about too, because it's like you said, like it's really hard to gauge accountability, and that's something that I really want SoftGov to try to figure out. Is like, how do we ensure that everybody's accountable and we're getting even feedback and review. I think we're doing kind of a rough job at. It's one of those things. It's like, if I have a piece of work done, I want to normalize this idea of like, let's have a review process. If it's not up to par, we need to be able to have that honest conversation without being without people feeling hurt or insulted or anything like that. It's one of those things where it's like, we need to normalize having those types of conversations and being able to adjust, and take constructive criticisms and stuff like that. And so I don't know if you have ideas on that, but I think it's really important, because especially in comms where you have so many individual efforts, and maybe you've seen it more so than I have in other working groups, but so some people like, there's not really a review process for a lot of things, and having that feedback mechanism is really, really important in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe there is. I just haven't seen it.
No, there is. No, I mean, it is important. I think one of the things that was certainly mentioned, I do remember Gideon put it in one of his diagrams when he was one of his Figma diagrams he was working on.
Yep.
Thing about it, even Tam talked to me about this after I gave the psychology of leadership talk during one of the Graviton trainings, that there needs to be this or we would benefit if there was more sort of like internal sort of like tranches of like, because I feel even we gravitate towards ranks in a way. I mean, I know it's horizontal, but there's still like I feel like junior, senior type of
Yeah, and social hierarchy type thing.
yeah, just based on
Yeah,
competence and on ability, like time work, just several variables, right?
yeah,
But I feel like a lot of the from doing onboarding with people, like it I feel we reach an impasse um, after a while in terms of, I guess there have been very few people that I have onboarded and have like become active contributors, paid contributors, and for months and months and months. Um,
yeah.
but um,
And that's something we need to get better at is keeping people engaged and
exactly, yeah, keeping people
and
engaged.
there's a lot of like cultural practices that I think would help with that. Like
Yes,
especially like when you're talking about like well, we were talking about accountability and making sure that the work that we do and having that feedback. I think like having a cultural practice as okay, um, maybe Costa presents this, whatever document, or we have the video that we want to submit. Having just being in a room and saying, okay, we're going to force this cultural practice that we say, what do we love about it? What do we hate about it? um, and just going through that process and getting everybody's feedback and saying, okay, this is what we do every time, each and every time. And so it's not something that it feels that people are singled out for their work. This is mine included. Like I can't take it when I present something or do a piece of work, and then all the feedback, it just feels like people are walking on eggshells and don't want to hurt my feelings. And that's because we
yeah,
haven't made it into like a cultural practice to say, hey, shred this to bits. Like, tell me what you do not like about it and
labor
normalize
weakness.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the type of thing that I want everybody to expect to have with their work, and that keeps us all accountable to improve what we're doing, to grow, to all that stuff. And so I think it's really, really important for each working group to accomplish that in some way, however they feel, however it's suitable to do it. But like it has to be a cultural thing. It has to be like an active practice,
yeah,
So even if it's like a tweet, you know, you got a small group of 3 people, like, is this tweet good or bad? What can we make better, or what do you not like about it? Um, so like just having that is built in and embedded within our just normal day to day operations is really, really important.
yeah. Okay, so
But yeah,
you're
go
touching
ahead.
on feedback there,
Yeah,
and I've been trying to dive deeper into mentorship. I mean, I've learned a lot from Tam, from Griff, even from you, from Mitch, from Chuy, from a lot of people I've worked here, and it has been through osmosis and not through like a structured type of cultural practice, like you say, right?
yeah,
There are times when I'm projecting, but that doesn't make it. I don't think that makes it any less true. But there are times that I have not been accountable to the work that I said I was going to do,
yeah.
and no one has.
Push back on it.
I wish there had been people who were like, "You say you were going to do something, and you
Yeah.
didn't do it," and I mean,
Yeah, and like why? Like
yeah,
or explore
that's
those reasons. Yeah.
yeah, that's. I mean, I might be exaggerating. That's too confrontational. That's uncomfortable, maybe even for the person who's doing the. Although,
And
like
I'm the same
those
way
kind of
though.
conversations are needed, right? But
Yeah.
we had a cultural practice where I just love it in fucking movies how they they're talking about something. And it's some like they like the person who's speaking goes into this story and ends up communicating this point that is so subtle, so nuanced, and without even saying that thing, right? I feel like training for things like that.
Yeah. Few and far
Like,
between. Like,
yeah, like I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm certainly like looking into to incorporate it because I do feel it's easier to persuade people or influence them if you at first like sort
empathize almost. Like,
yeah, and sort of like rock pull them a little bit. Like you start telling them a story, they let their defense down, and then like
yeah, like it's
so,
okay. It's okay to
yeah,
have this conversation. Yeah,
we're probably
it's nothing personal. You know.
defining virtue that we have as humans might be storytelling.
Yep.
And
I agree.
it might be right. And in terms of leadership, influencing, collaborative economics, like I don't think we're leaning onto that as much. And I mean, again, going into, I guess, goes full circle with the spoken word, and it goes two ways as well. I wish someone would be like, hey, like this spoken word thing feels like a personal project. Like, do you have any sort of like examples that would be so that we can know if this would be like proper or like within culture for what we're trying to do? I mean, I'm grateful that people sort of like trusted me and that no, it turns out that I'm gonna kill it. But
I agree.
yeah,
Like learning how to have difficult conversations is the hard part. And so, like, I think if we can embed it into a normalized cultural practice, I think it is a lot easier. You know, because you're right. Like, there are some things that I've had on my plate that I've dropped in the TEC, and nobody has talked. You know, and when somebody drops something like that, there is a reason. You know, and it could be a barrier to, like, executing on it, knowledge gap. You know, time over, they're overwhelmed, whatever it may be, but we don't have that type of platform to actually explore those things, and I think it's really important that we do that. Even if it's just within the working group that you're working in, to make sure that, if something gets dropped or something is not as good, or up to quality, like, we need to have a space for these types of communications to occur. And so I'm trying to think of different ways that this could happen, whether it's like, kind of a part of like a, opening question type thing, maybe like a closing review type thing, just something of that nature. We need to create like a little space, a little practice that we all adopt that allows for this type of communication to happen without, it feeling personal, or, having people's feelings hurt and them running away. Like, it's got to be constructive and positive, and but it's also got to be honest. and having the ability to have a difficult conversation is one of the hardest things that we have to learn how to do within DAOs, especially, because otherwise, we're going to have this type of conflict that arises in perceptions of people's ability, of people's work itself. And I don't want somebody working their ass off to help out, and then all of a sudden, they get grilled. And so I think having each working group decide what they want to do in terms of that type of feedback and creating that type of space is really important. I just don't know what it's going to take. So if you have any ideas, I would say try to implement it, experiment with it in comms, and just go with it. But yeah, I think, because once we have a format that works really well, I think that we can apply it to every working group.
Did you? We were gonna reimagine the community call. Do you know if that happened or if that has not happened yet?
What happened? Sorry.
There was once an issue about reimagining the community call. I think maybe
that was me. Yeah.
Okay. Before you became a dad.
Yeah.
But do you know has that happened yet? Or
No,
because it
no,
feels
not
like,
at all.
okay, then it would be the perfect opportunity to reimagine the community call and embed within it a cultural practice around constructive feedback and maybe V2 some sort of like mentorship, you know. But I mean,
Yeah,
if we start with the feedback, then the rest is, I mean, what's mentorship if not like some type of an ultimate
training, guidance. Yeah,
feedback? Yeah, yeah. Um, uh, but yeah, that's there. We can reopen that issue then. I'll see if it's.
yeah,
I'll see.
yeah. And part of the one of the things about the community call that like instead of giving updates, like I kind of I want get the details of like how to get involved, but like I part of me wants every time I listen to people talk about the working groups and the community call, I want you to get me excited about it. Like I think we spend so much time just going, this is what we did, this is what we did, this is what we did, and rather than like, hey, if I'm a newcomer and I'm listening to this, I don't really care what you're doing. Like, get me excited, like inspire me. What is your vision for the working group? What are you trying to accomplish on a bit larger scale? Like, why should I be contributing to it? And like in a way, I think the working group should be competing for the people that are coming into the TEC. Like if we got 3 people who went through onboarding and are in the community call, um, you know, the working group should be like incentivized to be competing for their for their contributions, and we don't have that sense of competitiveness in terms of like, hey, come join us over here in Omega, come join us over here in comms, come join us over here in SoftGov. Because I do think, if we start speaking more to the aspirational, it gets people excited and gets them to say, okay, how can I bring my vision for what you just talked about to this? How can I share my knowledge about this area that I'm interested in? So there are different areas of like the community call that I think are really important and cool, and that I think we need to keep. Like the praise is great. Um, the working group updates I think should be a little bit more quicker and in sync, but more aspirational. Like, hey, let's inspire the newcomers to join our efforts. But yeah, so those all things that fall under like internal comms, which is something you are so really, really, really good at. And I don't know. If you have other ideas, I'd be willing to experiment and like try it out at the next community call.
Yeah. Enthusiasm. You know the etymology for that word is means to be possessed by a god.
I didn't
uh,
know that.
yeah, I was looking into it because I've had trouble or issue, and it's hard to assess because in terms of motivation, like how do you know how hard it is for other people to do the stuff that they don't want to do or that they have to do. Like how do you know what's the baseline and when you're sort of like at a pathologically unhealthy level of dopamine or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's just overthinking. So I just went into the etymology of enthusiasm, and it's like possessed by the gods, and it's like, well, it's something that really needs to be um, feigned. It's inertia.
Yeah.
You start, and I see. I guess the reverse of that would be the monotone. So like uh, state that the working weekly update sort of like devolved into, which is normal. I mean, people just like going over the things that they went to. I think Griff maybe does all the enthusiasm for all the stewards at the beginning, and then everyone could just chill.
Yeah.
um, but um, yeah, certainly if we like within the structure, if we sort of like ask people to communicate the updates in some way that is, you know, conducive to them becoming
Yeah,
enthusiastic about it. I don't know.
I know. And I mean, just kind of reframing it, and just saying, hey,
Yeah.
your goal here is to find contributors. Give me your pitch. why should I join your working group? If I've got all these interests, why should I work on your working group?
Yeah.
And the more people that you get in your working group, the better off you're going to be in terms of getting stuff done and getting collaboration going. And so, yeah, I mean, these are all really cool things. But I guess, is there anything in the agenda that you want to go over in terms of like immediate needs and like immediate like things that we're working on?
No, I just do we know if the transparency audit is finished?
I believe it is, but I'd have to talk to Zepti about it.
That's fine. I'll check with them or someone.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting on that to send it out for the newsletter. So.
Oh yeah, the newsletter stuff. Okay.
But
yeah. Oh yeah. And so, what can we do to support as far as inputs are concerned? Have you? I remember you mentioning maybe that the whole like Twitter subscribe button.
Yeah, that was. Let me check right now, but I believe that was added. Yeah. Oh well, I don't know if it was added yet, but I know for a fact Acid Laser is working on it.
Okay. There's one aspect of that I think is of concern, and that's the GDPI compliance stuff. Do we?
Oh.
Here's where we need the legal.
You think that's gonna? You think putting a subscribe on Twitter is somehow
violation of that? Yeah.
Oh.
And so I don't want, especially in the coming year or so, we're going to see some massive changes through regulations, and I don't want to have any type of reason for us to be under a microscope for any purpose at all. But
it's not there yet, so it has not been incorporated into the Twitter profile yet. So
I don't know if you can make a note of it, but let's put that on a note somewhere just to keep that in mind. Because the GDPR compliance.
Yeah. No. Other than that, I'll check with Acid Laser where we're at with that, and ask him to
one of the things that the TE Academy does
before it goes live, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
So one of the things that TE Academy does is like they have the sign up stuff, so everything they do you have to sign up for, and it's just a good way to collect information and collect emails and have them subscribe to the newsletter. And so I think that that's a really good process for actually building up that newsletter subscription list. And so I think having these kind of Google Forms that we can have for like, I don't know what purpose yet, but maybe signing up or like maybe we can present it to onboarding and have people sign the form to actually get in. Because like even their like, events that they hold, they want you to sign up for. And like if you ever go to like a T Academy link, it'll send you to a form that you sign, and then you have the option to subscribe, and so you can subscribe directly, and they have a growing list of newsletter subscriptions, and I think it's a really good model, but I don't know how to incorporate it here, because I do think that having this newsletter is going to be effective as long as we can get people who are wanting the newsletter and who subscribe to it, because I feel like the list that we have now are with people that maybe didn't know at the time that we had a newsletter, and we're using them to send out newsletters, and I don't want them to get angry. Or have you like pushed back on it?
Well, there's always a couple people that unsubscribe.
Okay.
Like that's normal. Like two
Yeah.
people unsubscribe.
And there's like an unsubscribe type of button that we have with the newsletter.
Yeah, all of
Okay.
them have it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of ideas of like how do we make sure that the newsletter itself becomes the most effective it can be. And that means having inputs. And so I still have to figure out who controls our fucking website. This is one of the most frustrating things ever, and I know Durgas has mentioned it many times.
Hello there, Jesus Perez. We're having a comms call, sort of like a very small number of people. Comms call, but you're welcome to join. We're about to finish the call, just wrapping up. But you're welcome. However, if you could just please mute your mic, because there's a lot of ambient noise.
Feedback, yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to just hang around for the last 5 minutes of the call, or however long this takes. Nate, there's whenever I want to make changes to the website, which I made one recently.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think having like a landing page for some things, it would be really nice to have. If I had access to it, I think there's some things that I would want, and that is for comms to have a lot of control over the platform text, and making sure that we have the messaging that we want on the website. And then on a second note is that I would love to see gardens embedded into our website. I want the website to be the one place people go, where we can link the Gitbook, where we can link in a very easy, nice flowing way. But I'm not sure who has access and who's in charge of managing it at the moment.
Yeah. Casale, I don't know if you know Casale, but he's the one I talk to whenever I need some changes, and he does the pull request.
Okay. Casale does?
Casale.eth. Yeah, that's the...
Okay.
So you can message him. He's being... I mean, sometimes he's busy with school, but he does... he has helped me in the past. Right now, we're moving the sign up for newsletter input from the bottom of the page to like the first frame you see when you so that is something that we're moving. Granted, there's still more work that could be done.
I mean, even a pop-up would be really nice, like kind of like a banner pop-up once you enter the site that you can exit out of if you don't want to deal with it. But something that kind of is just like, hey, sign up for a newsletter real quick. But
do you think it'd be better if we do a pop-up version of it?
I think it would work out really nicely if we had like once you enter the website and it has like a top banner right at the top that you can exit out of, and it's just, hey, here's an input field where you can put your email, subscribe to our newsletter.
Right.
That would be really, really nice. Just because it's like it's there, they know about it right off the bat. They can always opt to not even, they can ignore it. But I do think it, for most people, if they're visiting the website and they want to learn more, they can just easily type their email and just let it be. So
sort of like if you see where I'm sharing the screen right now, sort of like this.
Let's see. Hold on, two.
Yeah, banner there, join our param parties. This is the
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, up top, yeah. So it just has like an input field right there
okay.
where you can put your little newsletter. You can just submit it to a form.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
That's way more attention grabbing. I think it's an improvement on just having. I mean, good thing, good riddance. He hasn't done the pull request yet, so there's still time to move that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make sure to. Yeah, I'll tell Casale about that. I'm sure it'll be live by
And
weekend.
maybe we can set up see if we can have like a meeting with anybody and everybody who's involved with the website. Because I would really like to tackle some things with the website. I do think Durgadas was correct. This should be the place that people go. I mean, we have 5 different places that people are always working with, whether it be the Git book, whether it be Notion page, whether it be, you know, Figma or whatever. I would like to have all those connected to one site. Our gardens and our snapshot all embedded. And so I think there's a lot of work that can be done with a website. I just don't know who to talk to and how to get them in a room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, certainly you're trying to get the root of the website issue.
Yep.
I've just been, I guess I've been content with just getting getting the things done within the. It's really just a couple of changes that I've made, but
Yep.
I agree. I don't know who would be the one. At one point there was Christopher. I don't know if he still holds the keys.
I think he might, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I would love for comms to be more connected to the website completely. Like I want you guys to have like control of the narrative and how we can have our communications.
Yeah,
And
certainly.
have everything consolidated.
Certainly for marketing purposes. I mean, you mentioned Google Forms. We have HubSpot Forms there,
Yep.
and it's integrated. So I've certainly been dropping the ball on that. I honestly slipped my mind, but I'll certainly I'll certainly see how I can get more data from just in the way T Academy is doing, because I do think you're right. I think they're killing it. Like thousands of people, without exaggerating, thousands of people have signed up for the T fundamental course.
Yep.
That's just I mean,
huge, yeah. And it gets good messaging out there too. And that's really what I want to see in terms of and part of what Acid Laser proposed with the restructuring of the comms group is just that let's consolidate our messaging and make it more effective. Let's get it into the right places and start to really focus in. So yeah, those are the big things that I wanted to talk about. But yeah,
got it. Yeah, well, to top it off, or to close it up, wrap it up, just to mention, I guess, recap the things we talked about and took some notes on, and I'll async. I'll keep working on them, and next time we talk, I'll have something. Internal comms versus external comms. We still needed to talk more about that, but that's for next time. Defining a vision. You did ask me a really good question about if I were directing every action within comms, what would I focus on? And I know a couple things that I would, but it's not yet an executive answer. So I'll definitely work on that. The comms Google Doc that Acid Laser is working, that Acid Laser did, I'll recheck that. I thought the marketing part was pretty. I summarized the whole thing. Coming up with a cultural practice around constructive feedback. The True subscription is going to be compliant. Getting more data from HubSpot forms. And I'm actually going to talk with some people from Gardens and from Aragon and from DWork tomorrow, because they're trying to see how we're using Gardens and DWork together within our comments. So if there's anything you might want me to ask them regarding integrating gardens with the website,
Yep.
do let me know. But I'll make sure to just flirt with that idea, see if there's something that they have planned along.
Yeah, and the garden things, yeah, embedding that, but with like things like D-work, especially like particularly like D-work, and we were using Clarity and Sample, they're for the
Yeah,
most part these tools have been using the TEC to like kind of test their products out, but there will become a time in the near future where they're going to try to monetize, and trying to figure out what the costs will be to use these platforms or how they attempt to monetize is really important information to have. So I don't know if you can get some insight with the work from that. Like, are they going to tokenize? Are they going to try to, I don't know, how they're going to attempt to make money? Because it will affect like whether we use them or not. And maybe we can, since we have been kind of piloting their software, maybe they can let us keep using it.
yeah. We do have more leverage now that we have Clarity.
Yep.
They're contenders, so I'll be sure to press them on how will they monetize, and if that would be in
A barrier.
yeah, or if that would be something that would allow us to continue working together. I'm sure it will. I don't know. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, man. I think it was a very productive talk.
Yeah, thanks for talking with me about it, and we'll catch up again next week and see if we can hammer out some things. If you need anything in the meantime, just message me.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you, Nate.
Yeah, thanks, Manu. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
All right, talk to you. Bye.
Thank you, Jesus, for joining for 5 minutes or so. For now, the marketing call has ended. So, are there any questions you might have, or we can keep talking after 12? ¿Hablas español? Si estás hablando no te escucho. Te escucho nada más como interferencia o feedback del micrófono. No. Either royalty. Jesus Perez is Jesus Perez having some mic issues there. I think he got it.
Okay. Can you hear me right
Yeah,
now?
I can hear you now. Cool.
Okay. So no, it's only to be aware. Yes, I speak Spanish, so it's only to be aware of what you are doing. And I see the meeting, and I'm trying to join to understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I can help in anything, let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, you're welcome anytime. Like these meetings are, all these meetings are open to anyone.